If there's one truth for my gaming tastes, it is that I am a variety gamer through and through. I can't just play one genre, I can't just play one franchise or one series. I like to bounce around, and as such, I have played so many games in so many different genres, and today on Rayl Deal Games, I'm going to share my pick for the top 10 best gaming genres. Now, genre can be kind of muddy waters sometimes, especially since some games have multiple genres. They can have like 3 or 4 sometimes. And that's okay, we've had fusion genres in other mediums as well. Aliens is like a horror action experience, and this effect has also existed within the book space as well. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 is a dystopian sci-fi novel. It happens and it's natural. But I'm going to focus on the pure essence of the genre at hand that I'm talking about, even if some of the games I talk about for that genre are not strictly just that thing. Now, there's one thing I want to talk about because I am a big From Software Souls fan, but you're actually not going to see Souls-like on this list. And this is my kind of honorable mention here. I like From Software's work. They're one of my favorite developers. However, I don't really like most of the Souls-likes that are made by indie devs or other development studios. I just don't think they know what they're doing as well as From Software does. And so that's going to be my honorable mention. Souls-likes, but very specifically From Software Souls-like. Now let's go ahead and dive right in with number 10, the humble platformer. I like all kinds of platformers. The action platformer, the 3D collectathon. I like 2D and 3D platformers. Some of my favorite and earliest games, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, are platformers, and I love them for that reason. Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of my favorite 80s games, often in the top 5 of that list for me, and it's because platforming has this certain like flow state you get into that is just so fun to do. Learning how to master levels is something I absolutely love in games, as we are going to see as we go through the rest of the genres here. But another thing is that platformers have kind of scaling to them. You start out pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty calm, and then you can become more challenging if you want it to. The time trials in Crash Bandicoot games are a perfect example of this. You could play the level slowly, calmly, and just get through without dying that way. But sometimes you really want to get that perfectionist feel at completing a level that you've 100% mastered, which requires you to really push yourself by running through the level at a full sprint the whole time. It's a genre that doesn't get a lot of new games in the modern era, unfortunately, because it is one of the best. Astrobot was quite a fun entry. However, I would be lying to say that it is my favorite or that it holds up to the entries of the past, in my opinion. Here's to hoping that the indie sphere can keep the humble platformer alive, which is a genre constantly at the precipice of extinction. Number 9, talking about genres at the precipice of extinction, is the beat 'em up. The 2D beat 'em up, and I'm going to be very clear about that because once you make it 3D, beat 'em ups essentially become character action games. But I'm going to be talking about beat 'em ups. I love Streets of Rage 4. I also really like 1 through 3 as well, 1 and 2 more than 3. But Streets of Rage as a franchise, really fun. The TMNT games of the past are also wonderfully awesome. I love it so much. Shredder's Revenge I was very happy with as well. This is just a genre where it's like you're playing a fighting game, but it's more in an adventure setting, and you have to also manage crowds and stuff like that, and then there's boss fights. I love this style of game so much. The consistent thread among all the genres that I enjoy is the fact that I like mastery-based progression, and beat-em-ups are a part of that. Sometimes they can have RPG progression systems as well, but by and large, you're playing this game and you are going to master the levels, you're going to go for high score. It's such a fun loop, and I love streaming long combos together. Number 8 for me is going to be the character action game. So yeah, I made this distinction here because as soon as you go into the 3D space, you really become the character action game, a genre also known by the hack and slash moniker. I like the character action moniker a little bit better because it's a little bit more clear. Hack and slash implies that you need a sword, which not all of them necessarily are always sword based, but character action, it's you're playing a character and it's an action game. It's very, very simple, very broad, albeit, but you know, I'm talking about Ninja Gaiden, Bayonetta, and DMC when I'm talking about this. This is honestly a genre that has been kind of taken and turned into something that's not pure in its essence. You know, when I think of what makes a character action game, it's Ninja Gaiden Black. It's DMC 3. It's Bayonetta 1. That's like the character action game, right? And so when you see a lot of games try to be character action games, but they don't give you the breadth of combos, the same incentive for wanting to do variety with your gameplay, it really feels bad to me. And so I'm really, really happy that character action games in recent years getting a little bit of a resurgence. You know, DMC 5, really, really good. Bayonetta 3 came out. Where's DMC 6? Capcom, that's what I really want to see. Hopefully after Onimusha comes out and Resi 9, that we're going to be seeing some DMC 6. Number 7 for me is going to be what I call the WRPG, the Western RPG, which started out as the CRPG, the computer RPG, which are no longer on computers exclusively anymore, which I think means that we need to kind of change the way that we name that. They were all Western studios, you know, back in the day, Black Isle, Interplay, Western studios. And you can see that influence. One of the big hallmarks of this is choices matter. You make choices and they matter. That's kind of the hallmark of the WRPG for me. And some of my favorites when I was growing up were the Bethesda RPG. Now the irony is that choices don't actually matter in a Bethesda RPG, but I'll let it slide for this particular thing because the real things I really, really like are Fallout 1 and 2, as you saw earlier this year, Baldur's Gate 3, and loads of other titles. I love this style of game, whether it be action-based, whether it be real-time with pause, or whether it be purely turn-based. It does not matter to me. I love all versions of this style of game where I am sitting down, I'm role-playing a character, and I am going to make choices that are going to change the world. Number 6 for me is going to be the survival horror. Now, the indie sphere has kind of taken up the survival horror mantle almost entirely. I think it's just Capcom from the old greats that makes these. I mean, Konami's coming back a little bit with Silent Hill. Silent Hill 2 Remake apparently is something people really, really liked, and there's rumors or maybe confirmation, I'm not too sure, about Silent Hill 1 Remake. So, yeah, the survival horror is a genre I love. Whenever a new indie game is coming out with a new survival horror experience, it catches my eye immediately. I want to play it, and this has actually led me to finding one of my favorite developers of all time. Just all time, AAA and indie together, and that's Puppet Combo. Puppet Combo does horror unlike anyone else. No one does horror like Puppet Combo. Nun Massacre and Stay Out of the House are some of the most terrifying games I've ever played in my entire life. And it's important to note that one of my top 10 games of all time, Alien Isolation, is a horror game. I'm a big Resident Evil fan, so yeah, I love this particular genre quite a bit. Number 5 for me is the JRPG, almost held up entirely by the fact that my favorite franchise is a JRPG franchise. That's Final Fantasy. Now, it's not just Final Fantasy that I love. This isn't like the From Software Souls-like example here. I've liked other JRPGs like Legend of Dragoon, Super Mario RPG, and loads of other stuff. It's also not a direct comparison anyway, because the number of Final Fantasy games I've loved is way higher than any number of From Software games ever released. So, it's a genre where I'm always excited for a new game when it's coming out, even if I don't actually have the time to play a ton of them. Number 4 for me is the 4X strategy game. I love 4X strategy games. They're actually role-playing games for me. I love role-playing a ruler while playing Civilization 5 or playing Endless Space 2 or Master of Orion. Space 4X games are literally something else entirely. You can't get that experience anywhere else, literally anywhere else. They're a lot of fun. They can be very chill or they can be very hardcore. And I love that type of progression system there. One of my favorite things about 4X games is the way that you can really learn a lot about the world by playing a 4X game, I think. You can really learn at least how rulers view their subjects in a lot of ways, especially if you really go down the route of efficiency based civilization building. I think when you take a second and you think, you'll realize that that's not always going to create happiness for your populace. Or if you go for a happiness based one, well, then you don't have a military to defend yourself. It's very interesting. You can learn a lot about the way nations are designed by playing 4X games. And I really like that. I've learned a lot of appreciation for history by playing 4X games, and an appreciation for science as well. Number 3 for me is going to be the real-time strategy game. So yeah, not a 4X game. This is like Age of Empires, StarCraft, Warcraft. Love these games. Command and Conquer, one of my favorite genres for sure. It's another one where it's like a 100-hour commitment minimum for me. A lot of my top genres are, which is why I don't actually get to play them a ton. But yeah, this is a wonderful genre. It is unfortunately pretty much a dead genre. I think there's some indie games coming out for it, but by and large, I think a lot of people refer to this as a dead genre, which is so sad for me. You know, Age of Empires is one of my favorite game series of all time, and admittedly Age of Empires 4 is out, and that's like the last bulwark of the RTS. It's like the last one, and I think more people play Age of Empires 2 than 4, which is a sign that it's kind of hard to make a new one these days. I would love for StarCraft 3 to have been a thing before Blizzard went downhill. I'd love a proper Command & Conquer 4 or Red Alert 4. And I, like many others, have been waiting at the bit for Warcraft 4 for well over 20 years at this point. I like the RTS quite a bit, and even though this is actually, you know, a top genre for me, but because I never look up guides for games that I really, really love and that I play, I would guess I actually suck at these. I wouldn't know because I don't watch other people play, but it's such a skill-intensive genre that I have no doubt that I suck, even though I put so many hours into the RTS. Number 2 for me, talking about genres I played a lot that I probably suck at, is going to be the fighting game. I like both 2D and 3D fighting games. I am like one of the only creators on this entire platform that talks about fighting games, who will also talk about how important single-player systems in those games are. I think a lot of people just don't care about it. I get it. It has, from the foundation, been the PvP genre, and so a lot of people only like the PvP aspect of fighting games. I like that too. Out of all competitive games, I love watching people play Street Fighter against each other. I love watching other people play stuff like Guilty Gear against each other. It's so much fun. But I also like the solo progression nature of fighting games from the 2000s. I thought that was such a cool aspect of them that, you know, maybe is coming back a little bit. I think there's definitely more single player systems being put into fighting games and more recent ones than, you know, in the past 10 years at least. Fatal Fury City of the Wolves has a okay single player. It's not the best thing ever. It's not the Soul Caliburs of old, but it's got some really good reasons to play single player. And I really like that because, honestly, because I bounce between so many games all the time, I literally just don't sit down and master any one fighting game to the point where I can actually play online. So it's nice to have a mode for me to play that isn't just arcade tower grinding all the time. Number 1 for me is gonna be the boomer shooter, the arena shooter, the retro FPS. I don't care what you call it. That's my favorite genre right there. Now, a lot of the genres I've talked about, RTS, fighting game, character action game, beat 'em up, they're all mastery-based progression games. But if there's one genre that I think meets this perfectly, from the way it's designed, it's the retro FPS, to be honest with you. The retro FPS is the progenitor of difficulty modes in games. Now, I know it's probably not the very first one, but it is the first one that also designed each difficulty to feel good. Doom and Wolfenstein 3D feel good at all difficulty levels, you know, relative to your proper skill level, as long as it's within your ZPD at least, which is zone of proximal development for you guys who don't know that term. I love these so much because just like character action games, and I guess this is something I forgot to talk about with character action games, they're another genre that does this really, really well. You have multiple difficulty settings, but then the game's designed for you to play at your level and then get harder, and then get harder, and then get harder. And I like the way that this genre has always been really good at this. Now, obviously, as your play base gets more and more skilled, you got to get even more difficult, which Doom Eternal is quite, I think, at the top of the difficulty ladder for these kind of like retro style FPS games. But even something like Dusk from 2018 did this type of difficulty scaling extremely well, because let's say you mastered Cerro Miedo, the hardest difficulty that doesn't involve you dying in one hit, literally. Let's say you mastered that. Well, you do have the Duskmare difficulty, which says you do die in any hit. You get hit once, you're dead, period. That would definitely be a big jump, though. So how do you jump from Cerro Miedo, which is just a very difficult difficulty, to you die in one hit? Well, you have challenges for every level that begs you to challenge the level, begs you to master the level. You can do a pacifist run where you don't kill anything. You can do low tech where you can only do melee attacks. And then the ultimate challenge for every level is the untouchable, finishing the level without getting hit once. So the way that the completion criteria for a game like Dusk is set up is it's designed for you to master the game. It pushes you through the mastery process. That's what the retro FPS does. That's what the character action game does. That's what these genres are so good at doing, and why I love them so much. The best retro FPS titles are designed around the ability that you're gonna get better and you're gonna play the game at a harder difficulty. That's when you can tell it's done well, and you can always tell when somebody did not design one of these super well because they do not have good difficulty scaling. It's actually one of the things that made me really like Doom the Dark Ages, because you can set to Nightmare, which I did. But then I also made it harder than base Nightmare by turning that parry window all the way down. And you can do other things to make the game more difficult, such as increasing enemy damage, decreasing your damage if you want to, although I think that's really bad difficulty personally. So I really like that they give you base difficulty ideas that you can then even make harder. That's awesome in my mind. And so yeah, the retro FPS, is a great genre that simultaneously appeals to the kind of low skill gamer and the very high skill, sweaty, hardcore gamer that's okay dying 20 times in a row to learn how to beat something. And guys, that's my top 10 gaming genres. These are the ones that every time I see something coming out for it, I keep a close eye on it because I want to know more. But I want to throw it back to you guys. What are your favorite gaming genres? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And while you're down there, consider smashing that like button, subscribing, and ringing the notification bell. We are coming at the end of 2025, but this is not the end of the channel. I am gonna be going for some insane videos next year that are gonna be a lot of work, and I hope you all join me to see them. Regardless of what you choose to do, thank you for keeping it real with Rayl Deal Games, and I'll see you guys next time.